Tonight on Elon Local News.
Crime alert. Police restrained a man outside Mill Point last night. What you need to know about the incident.
This is what leadership looks like.
Heating up. College students speaking out as world leaders make big climate change promises.
In trouble with travel, students scramble to return to campus for the final days of classes after Thanksgiving break.
All that and more.
Elon Local News starts now.
Live from the Jane and Brian Williams studio at Elon University School of Communications, you're watching Elon Local News.
Well, good evening and thank you so much for joining us. This is Elon Local News. I'm Baylor Rodman.
And I'm Chloe Franklin. We begin this evening with an ENN alert. Town of Elon police are currently investigating an incident outside the Station at Mill Point neighborhood yesterday afternoon. Multiple police cars were in the area investigating a car that had furniture and other personal items stacked on top of it. Junior Jack Mullen says it was one of the craziest things he's ever seen.
And the group chat is going crazy. People are outside watching, taking pictures. Just to give you an idea of what it looked like this guy took everything that was inside of his house and put it on top of his car.
And says he and other residents have yet to receive official updates from police or apartment managers.
It would be nice for us to get updates on what exactly happened, just because it was so close to us. Pretty much everyone that lives in Mill Point saw it, and it was just really weird and confusing.
Elon News Network is still waiting for the police report, but the investigation is still active. Elon News Network will be covering the story as it develops.
Students are still waiting for answers nearly 1 week after the Elon community was told about the drugging of alcoholic drinks at parties this semester. Chief of Campus Police and Security Joe Lemire says that the investigation is ongoing and that these types of cases can be difficult to prosecute.
We can always investigate the crime. It doesn't have to happen overnight. Having someone that's in the right state of mind, give them a chance to gather their senses, and then do the interview later, that's fine.
Elon Senior Carrie Barba, who is president of Gender-Based Violence Awareness Club, Students Promoting Awareness, Change, and Empowerment, says she was happily surprised about the university taking action when she received Vice President for Student Life's John Dooley's email.
It was a good kind of surprise. Like, I didn't expect that they were ever going to do anything about this, and so them just even sending an email, I think that's a first step.
Lemire says right now it is a, quote, bit of a waiting game as campus security and police interview people involved in the incidents and more come forward.
Rapper Travis Scott is being sued following chaos at his ASTROWORLD festival this weekend. At least 8 people are dead following a crowd surge during his performance. Investigators say the sold-out show organized by Scott was so tightly packed that people near the front of the crowd could not breathe when the audience pushed forward. The ages of the victims ranged from 14 to 27 years old. At least 3 were college students. Here at Elon, students are reacting to the tragedy.
It's not that frightening, but I think that it just serves as another reminder to stay vigilant and really be aware of your surroundings wherever you go, which is, it's a sad reality right now, but I think it also means we need to start pushing for safety just among our community.
Sometimes you're going to have security issues at places like that, and I'm just going to keep doing what I want to do, I think, and having a good time, and I don't think that should impact things that we do.
It's just very shocking, and it just really shakes you to your core, because that could have been anybody just going to enjoy their night, and now they lost their lives.
Police are continuing to investigate what may have caused the crush, and there are currently 12 active lawsuits against Scott and event organizers.
In a vote of 228 to 206, House lawmakers passed President Biden's $1.2 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill late Friday night, securing a key victory for his administration and breaking a weeks-long deadlock between moderates and progressives that threatened to derail the legislation. 13 Republicans crossed party lines to join the Democrats voting in favor of the legislation. The bill provides funding for physical infrastructure projects ranging from roads and bridges to airports, electric vehicles, water pipes, and broadband internet. It will now advance to President Biden's desk for his final stamp of approval. Senators already voted 69-30 to approve the legislation in August. This is different from the president's social spending bill, completing Biden's Build Back Better agenda. That vote is expected to be held on November 15th and includes billions on tax credits for clean energy, the creation of affordable housing, Medicaid for home health care, and billions to develop domestic supply chains. It also includes a 15% income tax on large corporations and a 5% surtax on those making over $10 million. And joining us now live in studio is Mayor-elect of the town of Elon, Emily Sharp. Madam Mayor-elect, thank you so much for joining us in studio.
Yeah, thanks for having me back.
So first of all, just reactions to the win.
I'm just really honored. You know, I think that municipal turnout is always pretty low, but it was pretty good for municipal turnout, and I'm just really thankful and honored to be selected as the next mayor.
Absolutely. So I want to talk quickly about Biden's infrastructure bill, actually, because the last time you were here, you know, you talked on October the 12th, you talked about how 40% of our land is not taxed. We were providing services to 12,000 individuals for a budget with 6,000. And he said we needed to find more of those creative revenue sources for the town of Elon through some state and federal resources. And I'm wondering, is this infrastructure bill one of those resources, do you think?
I think we'll have to see what comes out from the federal government in terms of how states can allocate those funds and if municipalities will receive any of it, similar to like the American Rescue Plan. But also looking at USDA grants and other grants that might be available for communities like ours.
Absolutely. So how do you see Elon moving forward? Again, you said raising taxes in the town only gets you so far, but you know, $60,000 isn't a whole lot when you go ahead and do that. But there are some resources that are needed when you're providing, again, for 656 acres of untaxed land at the university.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we just have to be creative and looking for those grant opportunities, but also looking at what our residents want, and based off of what they want, how are they willing to pay for it? And I think that those are going to be really important conversations.
So I know you're on the neighborhood coalition with students and residents. Is this something you hope to advance further? And I know the last time you were here, you were talking about really get the university engaged. You said that the university is at the same time the best resource. You know, is one of the best reactions that you hear from students, but also can be, or from community members. It's the best thing that they like about Elon, but in some cases, one of the worst things at the same time too. So how do you hope to really bring everybody together on that?
You know, I think that conversation is key. So getting out there, being among the people, if that's the students, the full-time residents, our retirees who live in the town, I think that's going to be one of the key things that we get out there and do, and finding those opportunities. And, you know, also finding ways to bring us all together. I think that that's really important, and so that we can build relationships so that it's not the students separated from the full-time residents, from the Twin Lakes retirees, that we are all one Elon, and that's my goal. Absolutely.
All right, well, we're really just getting started. We're going to go to a quick commercial break, but you're joining us on the other side, so everybody stay close. Elon will return after this. And we're back with the mayor-elect of the town of Elon, Emily Sharp. She's set to be sworn in on December the 6th. So we were talking a little bit about community and student relations. And I know that you've previously said that COVID has really improved that a lot. But are there specific members of, you know, the administration at Elon, or specific vice presidents, or people that you feel like you really want to get in the door with to have these conversations with the highest level of officials at Elon? You know, we have, because of COVID, that has really been something that I think has been truly solid, is building the relationship. So Dr. Book, Dr. Stein, Dr. Dooley, I mean, everybody has been so responsive and also just committed to moving that relationship forward. So I think the right people are in the room, and I think we just need to continue that. Sure. So, you know, I guess, what are you going to do to start to you know, really talk about and address some of these tough parts of Elon, right? And I think one of them can be in terms of the lack of faith, I think, in the vaccine. We're seeing that pretty broadly around the Alamance County community. I wonder how you're seeing that in the town of Elon as well. The university is a pretty highly concentrated, highly vaccinated population. We've been sort of limited through other things because of the surrounding area as well, and I'm wondering how you plan to tackle that issue.
You know, I think that the best thing that we can do is just provide scientific evidence to support the vaccine. As someone trained in public health, it's important to me, and you know, I've been a supporter of it all along, and the more people that we get vaccinated, I think that the quicker we are going to be able to get back to as close to the formal normal as we're going to get.
So I know last year on the docket, really, the equality resolution was a big piece of legislation that really had a lot of eyeballs watching from students and community members. Is that something that you plan to push forward even further than that as well? And what are your thoughts on all of that?
Yeah, I think that my goal for the equality resolution or a potential ordinance is to talk to our new board members once they're instated in their new roles, see what they think about it, because we didn't have the votes to pass an ordinance previously, but also continuing to look at what the impact is on our town staff. We are a small but mighty staff in the town of Elon, and making sure that we can handle the enforcement of an ordinance.
And for students who maybe didn't know this election was happening, who maybe are just meeting you for the first time, you know, what are further ways that they, well, you know, they're only here for maybe that 4-year period. How can they further contribute to the community? How can they get to know you as Madam Mayor?
So they can find me on social media. So I even did my first TikTok on election day. I have my own personal TikTok, but my first official Emily for Elon TikTok. So they can communicate with me on there. They can email me. My phone number is public information, so they can call me. They can see me when I'm downtown, which is pretty much every day. I'd love to meet with them and, you know, hear their perspective on the town as well.
Sure, absolutely. Well, Madam Mayor-elect, thank you so much for joining us. We hope to see you back, too, when we get some things on the docket over there.
Absolutely, happy to.
Thank you so much. And with Thanksgiving coming up, students are making plans for traveling home, but with tickets becoming more expensive, a tight turnaround time between the last 4 days of classes and exams leaves some students concerned. Our Kaylee Satani has more.
With only 12 days until Thanksgiving break, many students are looking forward to the food, family, and week-long break. But once we get back to campus, there are only 4 days of classes until finals. Sophomore Gwen Webster, who lives over 2,000 miles away in Boise, Idaho, says that having to travel back and forth multiple times within a month will cost her nearly $2,500 and wishes there was another option.
I don't think that it is convenient at all to come back. So if there was another option to move the tests to a different time, besides those 2 weeks, that would be the best option.
But University Registrar Rodney Park says deciding the academic calendar isn't simple. He says the process includes consulting student government and the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools, a governing body that gives accreditation to colleges and universities.
It's not a one-person show. It's a lot of people that talk about it, and there's never a perfect scenario for every student, but we do try our best to accommodate as much as possible.
Sophomore Shannon Button, who lives in Indianapolis, says that she can't come back to Elon until 2 days after classes resume because of the popular travel weekend.
Flights were extremely inflated to literally just come back the Sunday before classes start. So I won't even be here for 2 of the 4 days of classes. It's just very inconvenient.
Kaylee Satani, Elon Local News.
Park says students who are struggling to return to campus for the 4 days following Thanksgiving should reach out to their professors.
Elon will host the next Spirit and Pride speaker event this Wednesday at 12:15 p.m. Robin Henderson Espinoza is a non-binary and Latinx activist and is set to speak about the intersections of queer justice and anti-racism. You can RSVP by emailing spiritandpride@elon.edu.
Director of Residence Life at Elon, Marquita Barker, will be leaving her role here to become the Vice President for Student Development at Knox College in Illinois. Barker says she will continue working at Elon through the end of this semester and told Elon News Network, quote, I credit Elon with helping me understand what it means to be a student-centered and developmental with the team of people I lead. It was a very difficult decision to leave, but the vice president role at Knox College is a great new role and a great way to continue the work I love with student development." End quote.
The United Nations 26th Conference of the Parties, or COP26, is underway in Glasgow, Scotland. Nearly 200 countries are represented in climate change discussions. Our Margaret Faust is at the conference and has more on the role young people are playing.
Catherine Higger is a student at Indiana University. She is at COP26 to conduct research on international climate governance. She heard what President Biden and other world leaders are doing to combat climate change, but as her time at the conference goes on, she is more confused about how climate justice might be achieved.
Everything that is being talked about and presented all shiny and nice and by people in suits is like, it can be believable, and then being at the protest, it's a good reminder that this is not enough.
While there are young Americans inside COP26 trying to make legislative change, there are also plenty of young Americans on the streets participating in marches trying to take the bottom-up approach.
Flora Duff is an American who recently moved to Scotland. She said she feels embarrassed when she tells people where she's from because of the U.S.'s environmental policy.
Changing people's perceptions that, Americans don't care about this issue, or Americans aren't standing up as much as perhaps people are here.
Protesters say change isn't going to come from inside the conference, but instead from the people marching in the streets. Swedish climate activist Greta Thunberg echoed this sentiment.
They cannot ignore our screams as we reclaim our power. We are tired of their blah blah blah. Our leaders are not leading. This is what leadership looks like.
According to Higger, the true test will come after the conference to see if the world leaders keep their promises. In Glasgow, Margaret Faust, Elon Local News.
President Biden made a variety of promises at COP26, including the promise to do the U.S.'s part to have global carbon emissions by 2030.
Just ahead, I'll tell you if the warm temperatures we felt today are here to stay.
All right, 21 minutes after the hour now, and joining us live for the weather ahead is our Annemarie Bonner under the Oaks this evening.
Emery, good evening to you.
Thanks, Baylor and Chloe. It was quite nice out today. Students were walking around, enjoying the nice sunny weather, and temperatures even reached into the 70s today. Now let's take a look at your Phoenix 5-day forecast. Looking ahead to tomorrow and Wednesday, temperatures are going to reach most likely in the 70s. Looking at tomorrow, we have a high of 76, and on Wednesday, a high of 75. And then headed into Thursday, there's looking like there's going to be some on and off showers throughout the day. So as you're headed to class, you're walking around campus, make sure you grab your umbrella, put on your rain jacket. And then headed into Friday, there might be some showers in the morning. So when you're headed to your morning classes, make sure you grab your umbrella just in case. And then headed into the weekend, temperatures are going to dip just slightly like we saw last week, with some cooler temperatures in the 50s, looking like a high of 59 on Saturday with a low of 36. So just make sure you're prepared for that. That's it for your Phoenix 5-day forecast. Back to you in the studio.
Annemarie Bonner live under the Oaks this evening. Thank you so much.
James Madison University is officially leaving the College Athletic Association in favor of the larger Sun Belt Conference.
Live with us in studio is our Caitlin Rundle with more on the move and what it could mean for Elon. Caitlin, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me here.
Yes, so talk to us a little bit about JMU's move to the Sun Belt Conference.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that this is a move that they've been talking about for a while. It really started all the way back in 2009 when they actually started renovations on their stadium, because the conference that they're moving to is part of an NCAA subdivision called the Football Bowl subdivision. So FBS has different seat requirements, so they needed to put more seats in that stadium. So all the way back in 2009, this is something that they've thought about. They've been thinking about this move to bigger division for a very long time. They had a feasibility report done in 2013, actually, that said that they had everything that they needed, and they've really just been waiting for the right time. I mean, there's a lot of conference realignment going on right now. So there's an opening in Sunbelt, so it was a little bit of a convenience thing, but also they were ready for this next step.
Yeah.
I mean, they've kind of outgrown their time at the CAA. They've been a founding member. So they've been here for a while, and it was time for them to kind of go to greener pastures.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to me because I obviously wasn't expecting any of this, not being as, like you, connected in the sports world at all. But to me, it came across as just a total shell shock, really. And I'm wondering what you think of it more so as an admission standpoint. Right. And from Elon's point of view, you know, we're constantly saying we're a D1 institution, we're part of the CAA, we play schools like JMU, the University of Delaware, so on and so forth. Do you think this puts Elon essentially at somewhat of a disadvantage because we don't have one of these bigger schools to compare to? And what's the tone inside Sharson around that?
It's a big conversation, I think, right now, because like I said before, JMU was a founding member, so they've been working for a while to create the CAA brand nationwide, and they've been a nationwide powerhouse for so long. So it is an interesting conversation to be had, but I was on the phone with Dave Blank earlier today, who actually said that he doesn't see it as much as a void that JMU has kind of left the CAA in. He sees it more as an opportunity for the remaining CAA teams. We are already seeing that with Elon Sports with the men's soccer tournament.
Sure.
Elon men's soccer is probably going to end up the 4th seed in the tournament. JMU is going to take the 3rd seed. Now that JMU is ineligible to play in that tournament, they have now taken that 3rd seed, and it's a great spot for the Elon men's soccer program to be in. So we're already seeing these changes kind of happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, definitely. Caitlin, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Yeah, thank you guys.
And Elon Local News will be back in just a moment, so don't go anywhere. We'll see you on the other side. Stay close. Well, you've just heard from the Fire of the Carolinas and their Veterans Day performance. Be sure to tune in Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern for a very special edition of ELN Morning honoring our veterans. We'll talk with local veterans on their decision to serve, life since coming home, and what the day means to them. You can catch it all right here at Elon News Network Veterans Day, November 11th. And that's all the news we have for you this evening. Thanks so much for joining us. For all the news you need to know when we're not on the air, visit our website, elonnewsnetwork.com.
Or follow us on social media at Elon News Network.
Now, before we go, here's a look at some of the sights and sounds from this homecoming weekend.
Have a great night, Elon.
Anyone can visit the 2 kiosks located